Community Food Security Network. You're recording. Awesome. I am one of the co-founders along with Mama T, Mama Shakira, and Mama Jerry from Oakland Avenue. So excited to see all this beautiful blackness, and just glad to be here to orient you all to welcome to the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund family.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Danielle, are you able to come off mute yet or no? Danielle does a lot of the kind of back of the house internal communications. If you email the Gmail, she's probably the one receiving your email and getting it to the right person. She also supports with the review process and pulling together all of your materials for your application. All right, and then Jerry and Shakira, I think Shakira is going to try to pop in. Shakira helps us with our fundraising efforts for the money that we disperse to you all. So for example, in this award, in this 2022 award, this on the call represents $100,000 of awards, which is awesome. And then Jerry, Oakland Ave is a longstanding organization. If you're not familiar with their garden, it took them about 15 years to actually acquire the land. This issue is so important for them, for Black folks to be able to have a process and the capital needed to purchase land, that they were really excited to be on board with this effort. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. Thanks. If you want to jump and just throw your name in the chat, kind of tell people where you're coming from and kind of meet some folks in the chat, that'd be great. I'm anticipating that we can go as quick as possible to get you guys back to your Saturday, but we did want to take some time in a minute just to explain kind of the process of how to access your award dollars and next steps. So really quickly, before we do that, Aaron, did you want to talk about the upcoming things that we had on the horizon really quickly? Oh, you're on mute.
I was unmuting myself. No, okay, right. I'm not. You said, do I want to talk about what real quick? I'm sorry. The prelim. I couldn't hear what you said.
Okay, just some of the upcoming things that we had on the horizon with the possible support with the social media and.
Oh, yes. Okay, cool. Sorry. I'm trying to pull up the agenda. I know we already wrote this down. But something else. So as we have developed, so as you all may know already by now, like we started out wanting to raise like $5,000 to help a couple of farmers. And then now we've raised all this money, and now we have like all these people like you all who are a part of our community. And so we've built this as we've grown, right? Like this was not kind of like set up in the beginning. We have been, continually building this as we've grown. And so we've gotten to this point. We're 3 years in now. I've done a lot of the social media stuff, but there are some people that are awardees that, quite frankly, from my perspective, are much better at doing social media. You guys do a really awesome job. And just you guys are like on the ground. And we just, in addition to, so this past year, we added on, community members who are reviewing applications, right, to decide who are going to be awardees, right? So we really want this to be a community-led process. And so in addition, we're going to have a couple of other things that we would like to bring some of you all on to work on, right? In particular, I'd love to get some folks working with me on social media, right? Like, so I'm pretty good. I'm good baseline. Like I got us to where we are, but like, if we're going to like go to the next level, like TikTok and stuff, I may look young, y'all, but I'm not with it. So I need some support with that. And so in the coming months, we'll probably send out a Google form that will list, again, some of these kind of like internal, calling them like internal opportunities, right? So opportunities where you all could assist. We would provide, again, some kind of like stipend funding, for your time and your energy and your effort. But so if you're interested in utilizing some of the skills that you have, that you've, utilized to help your garden and your growing situation, and you'd like to do that for the land fund, definitely be on the lookout. Just like we usually do, we'll probably send out an email and a text saying like, hey, we sent out this form. We're looking for folks to help with some things. Please respond if you're interested, right? So just Be on the lookout for. And I'm sorry, T. I'm trying to pull up the agenda, and I'm like failing right now. But it's social media, and then there's a couple other things that we had said we wanted to. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm
No, it's
on
okay.
this computer. My computer's not communicating with me.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We're all, living our lives for sure.
Hmm.
So Erin is this morning was leading a group of young people in the Urban Forest School. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that program. So she's out in the world doing things. So in addition to some of the needs that we have for 2020 were the social media. I
Right.
also have talked to a couple of people individually, but I think that the technical assistance from getting people to, developing their plot plans, to applying with the land bank, to going through the whole closing process, which, can take some time. Having a point person through that process with you is awesome. There are enough people on this call who have actually been through that process. And if you that's one of the things that we're thinking of opening up as a kind of stipended position to support other gardeners through the process of technical assistance. So that will be on there. We'll also be looking for community reviewers for next year's uh, applicants. So if you're we will have a way for you to let us know that you are interested in being a community reviewer next year. This year we had Mama Myrtle from Freedom, Catherine Underwood, who's a longtime gardening advocate, just retired from the city, and then Mark Covington. We're all on our review board this year, and looked at all of you guys' applications and helped make the final determinations. And then we also, I don't know if Shakira jumped in yet, but we also have this uh, we have this small dream of doing support services to Black farmers in the city, whether that's accounting needs or grant writing needs. There's a lot of back of the house functions that are not, they're not gardening, they're not farming, but they're things that would support you in your business development. So Shakira is working on an idea to support gardeners in the back of the house functions for their gardens. So stay tuned for that. Um, and then there is an opportunity, one more opportunity we wanted to share with you on the horizon. Last year, we took about 9 growers who were interested in selling their produce together and aggregating produce together. This was a pilot year just to kind of figure out what that would actually look like to aggregate produce together. Um, we get a lot of requests for produce that was grown by Black and brown hands, basically. And so there is no set program right now that says, like, you can reach out to individual farms, but in order to have that collective impact of, 80 units a week or 100 units a week, where we're growing together and bringing our produce together to sell. Admit a few people, I'm sorry, as I'm talking. So we piloted that program last year. We're hoping to expand the number of growers that we're working with. So be on the lookout for information if you are in production state of mind and you would like to aggregate your produce with other Black farmers. That would be a program that would be of interest to you. Any questions about the stuff on the horizon before we jump into like the actual technical things of how to access your award dollars? Or comments in general about the fund, or questions that you might have right away. And feel free to, we're kind of a small group if you just want to come off of mute or if you want to throw it in the chat. All right. All right. So I'm gonna.
You want me to go over the initial stuff and the infrastructure stuff? I do have that list.
Sure. And I just finished that checklist, so I'm gonna screen share that and that
Oh, cool. Okay. Okay, cool. So they can follow along. That's awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, if I try to share my screen, it might be a wrap for me. It's
Here it
just that kind of
is.
situation. I'm dropping in the chat, though I know some of you are joining on your phone, but just so, and you all have received emails from this email address so far, so you should know, but Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund at gmail.com. Ultimately, if you have a question or an issue, like you can always email that email address and we will figure out kind of how to help you resolve whatever you're dealing with. Thank you, T, for bringing that up. So this is just a checklist that we created for y'all just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. T also dropped a link in the chat to the document if you want to see it, and I'm sure we'll send it out to you all after the call is over. So I'm just some preliminary stuff at the top, right? So we just kind of thought about where you guys would be and kind of what are the steps that you need to take to get to the next thing. We have people at a variety of different levels in the land purchase or infrastructure process. So we just want to kind of try to catch everybody where they're at and make sure everybody is clear on like next steps. And so first, of course, hopefully most of you were at the Harvest Fest with us and you got your t-shirts and you got your award letter. If you do not have an award letter or a t-shirt, okay, there are instructions in this checklist on what to do with that. If you didn't get an award letter for some reason, definitely send something to that email address so we can make sure that you have it. And a t-shirt, you can just text me, right? Like all, t-shirt orders and stuff like that. That's my phone number. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. But yeah, you can just text me if you don't have a t-shirt. Everybody gets one free t-shirt. Of course, they're a fundraiser for the fund. So we ask if you want to get more to purchase them. They're $20 each. If you can't, or, if there are issues, again, let us know. So we want to make sure that everybody has those because it's really awesome whenever I go out and I see people wearing their shirts and people be repping us real hard. So that's real dope. So the award letter is important in particular because we want to make sure that you know how much you were awarded, right? So of course, in order to award all 50 of you, everybody didn't necessarily get the entire amount that they requested, but we were giving out the money, and those community rewarders also were helping us kind of decide, where does the money go so we can help the most people. And so want to make sure that you reviewed your award letter, and then make sure that you know how much you are getting versus how much you requested, right? So that's an important part of, if you're making an infrastructure request, if you're making a land purchase, we want to know how much we're contributing. Some of you were able to contribute your own funds, right? So that your award may reflect that, right? So if you need a certain amount, we may have been able to help you get there, but it also includes your funds. So just make sure that you have a kind of a good accounting of all of that, of how much you were awarded and what that means you can afford. And you're doing the last thing on the checklist now, which is attending the award orientation, or you're watching this as a recording. So you're meeting that stand. So that's good. Hoping that everybody, again, we'll send this out so folks can watch it. And then you can watch it in the future if you have questions later. And so we're going to start with folks. We recognize that there are folks that have infrastructure awards only, right? So you already own your land or you already have a space where you're growing. We requested infrastructure from us. But the first question with that is, do you own the property where you're installing that infrastructure, right? Or where that infrastructure is going to go? So so infrastructure cannot be purchased for land that you don't have either ownership, right? So you outright own it, or you have site control, right? And so we are gonna, in 2023, we are gonna have a workshop that I'll do on like contracting and, how okay, so let's say somebody else owns the land, but they've given you permission to garden on it, right? They've given you their, they've said, yes, I'm in agreement with you doing this, but you need something in writing, right? You need a document. We understand that everyone doesn't necessarily know how to do that. And I happen to be a lawyer, and so I will do a workshop at some point, kind of like detailing those kinds of agreements if you need them. Again, my phone number is in this document. The email is in this document. If you have questions about that, let me know. But you need to have either ownership or site control to get infrastructure stuff on that land, right? So if you were awarded land and infrastructure, you want to begin the land purchase process first, right? So you don't want to be buying infrastructure for land that you don't own yet. And so just keep that in mind in terms, and that's why we did this checklist, so you can kind of think about where are you specifically in the process. And then once you have reviewed that award letter and that you know what that award amount is, and you want to submit a modified budget to our email address by December 1st, 2023, right? And December 1st, 2023, again, is just a placeholder date. We understand that everybody has a different kind of time frame in terms of how long it takes to get through the land purchase process. It really does depend on who is your staffer at the land bank, and it just all kinds of other things. So we just have that date as a placeholder. We want to make sure that folks are utilizing their funds by that date, because if you're not, as we said in the application, we just want to make sure to get those funds to another Black farmer, right? So there's other people on our list, right, who didn't make the cut necessarily. And so we would, take those funds and then give them to another Black farmer. So we try to give you ample time to start the process and get everything moving. But so if you are just getting infrastructure, you already own your land, you just want to review your award letter and then submit a modified budget, right? Make sure that the budget that you've submitted, equals the amount of your award. And then we will reach out to you after you've submitted the budget. Some of you who are previous awardees or your double awardees, this is your second time being awarded, one of us from the leadership team will be a point person for you to help you make those infrastructure purchases, right? So we make those purchases directly, and then either, get the stuff shipped to you. If you want to pick it up, that's fine too. Obviously some of this stuff is big, like shipping containers and stuff like that. So that stuff needs to be shipped to you, to land that you own. I'm trying to make sure. Did I miss anything? And does anyone have any questions? Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to share the modified budget, and it should look familiar from the, so I have it here.
Okay, cool.
This is the same budget, and it's linked in the document. So again, if you're just joining, I'll drop it in the chat again in 1 second. But we have a couple people in the waiting room, including Mama Shakira. Okay, cool. So this is the modified budget. It is the same budget template that we used when you applied, except we're asking that you just include your name and delivery address. So what you're going to do is look at your, you may have submitted a budget for your award that was $5,000 worth of things you wanted to buy for your garden. But your award, based on us crunching the numbers and trying to get as many people through, was $2,000. So what we want you to do is modify what you actually want to buy based on the award amount. So, you submitted a budget for a fence and a shipping container, but you can't get both of those. What are you gonna get with your award dollars? Go ahead and put your final modified award in here. And then just submit it to the email, and then we'll be in touch. I will tell you, I do want to tell you that one thing I didn't write on the sheet was that, pretty much we're, getting into, holiday time or whatever. I take Key Growing Detroit is closed for the last 2 weeks of the year. So we'll be getting this. You can take this month to modify and get all your links together and finalize your purchases, but we're going to start purchasing, the first of the year. So you may email it to us. We won't be getting back to you to January, just so you know. All right, so I'll go back to the checklist.
Yeah, thank you for that, T. There's a question in the chat too. The award allows you to pay for infrastructure labor too, right? And I would say, yeah, right? Like, yeah, anything that's related to infrastructure, whether you're doing it yourself or you have somebody doing it for you, you got a contractor doing it for you, as long as it's within the budget that, or the award that we're giving you and what you can afford, right? If there are funds that you're contributing or you have funds coming from somewhere else, you have a fundraiser going on, whatever. So infrastructure, labor, and infrastructure itself.
Let me show you there too. If you're like me, I'm a Google freak. So, I love to be in these Google documents. You may not be like that. We can definitely walk through like how to upload these documents and all of that. But here, Angela, in this column, if you were getting a quote from somebody to do a service, go ahead and drop a link to the quote right here that we can look at, or you can email it separately. And like I said, technology should definitely not be a barrier. If you're not into spreadsheets and Google Sheets and all of that, just make an appointment with us so we can do this with you. Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
And will the budget link be emailed? I will. So the budget link is in the checklist, and the checklist will be emailed after this orientation. Yeah, along with the recording. So yes, thank you, Danielle. Danielle's in the chat. Hey, Danielle.
Hey.
And then I have a couple more questions. Can we buy picnic tables from Keep Growing Detroit? I don't know. T, can they buy picnic tables from Keep Growing Detroit?
We don't sell picnic tables, but if you're talking about some tables that you might have saw at our farm, I can, maybe provide a link for those. If that was
okay. Okay. And then a lot of this stuff, you can find, all kinds, again, that's why we ask you guys for the links. Like if you can find the best price or you find the exact one that you want, that way we can, make sure you're getting what you want or what you need. And then Kari says, how you doing, Kari? I have a budget I formatted in Excel myself. Can I use that? Does it need to be in this form? I would
no.
Are you no?
I don't think
okay, yeah. I mean, I guess just email that. Right, yeah. So if you already have something, written up, yeah, you can just go again. I'll drop that email address in the chat. And again, it's just Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund at Gmail. So pretty easy. Again, we'll help you figure out what's going on if you send us something there. And after and after submitting the modified budget, someone will be in touch. So and yeah, so any questions about, again, the infrastructure piece? So this is specifically, again, you already own your land, and so you're doing infrastructure improvements, or you're only, and that's only what you're doing. If you need to own your land, you got to start that process first, and Mama T is gonna talk to us about that. All right, y'all. Oh, what if we didn't get the deed yet? I don't know. Mama T, I'm gonna ask you about that. I don't know if you need the deed, right? Or do you just need the
Well, we got a purchase
completed?
agreement, Mama Erin.
Wow.
But we don't have a deed yet. Can we still move forward in the infrastructure is my question.
Yeah, at that point you have site control. So that's fine. Okay. And we're gonna try to get them deeds, Patrice. Goodness gracious.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell y'all some horror stories in 2 seconds.
Right.
Well,
thanks for your attention, y'all.
So I'm sorry, I was just responding to Sydney in the email. She direct messaged me that she needed to change her email, and just to save time, Sydney, you can just send your corrected email to the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund at gmail.com, and we'll get that corrected in our books there. Okay, greetings. Okay, cool. So any questions on the how to access your infrastructure award? There's a few additional notes here. Again, I said, if budgets and worksheets are not your thing, please, my Calendly is sitting there. You can make an appointment with me or another committee member, and we can walk you through the budgeting so that technology is not going to be any kind of barrier. And then be sure to include the links to items that you want to purchase, and let me know, are you going to pick it up from Home Depot, or you want to deliver to your site? Adding the delivery cost into your award amount, and then needing a delivery address. If you're getting a service done, submit a quote or an invoice for the service. And you also may purchase your items and get reimbursed. That is possible. So if you purchase something within your award period, you can submit receipts and get reimbursed. Let us know how you want to be paid back. So any questions on how to access your infrastructure award? Because we're going to move into the land process in 2 seconds. Okay, Daz said, I'm just going to read your question, Daz. You kind of answered it. What if the purchase is more than the award amount? Okay, yeah. Would we schedule a one-on-one to coordinate how that will be paid? Yes, absolutely. Yep, just schedule. We'll figure all of that out. Yep. Yep. Thank you. So Daz was saying if she wants to purchase something and we're only contributing a part of it, we'll definitely figure that out. If it's an invoice or something, I've paid part of it, and and you pay part of it, that's always fine. Okay, if there's no other questions about infrastructure, at this point, if you're not here because you got a land award, if you only got an infrastructure award, you can stay on the line or you can jump off, because if you probably already know this process, the land process will be new. So you only need to stay on the line at this point if you got a land award, so we can talk through the process for how to acquire your land award. Yep. So I'll jump into that, but feel free to fall off, or and then we'll email this sheet, which is also in the chat. Angela said, I want to hear the horror stories. So yeah, Patrice was on the line, and she just peace, Travis. She just reminded me hers. Patrice, if you're still on the line, if you want to come off of mute, but
I'm here.
Do you want to talk about your horror story in particular?
I mean, they just taking their time, just like the land bank do. We had to stay on them, and T and I have been doing that. But they have not gotten me to the deed process. Like, I have a purchase agreement, and they told me that it would. Then after the purchase agreement, it would go into like the committee had to review that to approve it, and so they did. And then I think she just this was like last year, in the middle of last year, but this has been going on for the last year and a half or two, T, because I was awarded land in 2020. I didn't apply in 2021, or and then I applied again this year for the Black Farm and Land Fund, but only for infrastructure. So I don't know why the land bank is taking this time, but they are kind of like dragging their feet with my process to close the deal. And T and I have been working very closely with them. One of the things I think that was a big issue was that the person that I was initially talking to, which was Sarah, she left, and I had to get another person. So this is why it's, I think, very important for us to kind of stay up on the process of like getting like full ownership of the land. So yeah, that's my dilemma.
I'll just add to that. Patrice, we put a deposit, and I'm going to go through the whole process, but we put a deposit on Patrice's land in March of 2022, and she still hasn't gotten her deeds. That is insanity. So you're right. So if you're still on the call, that means you are looking to purchase land this year, and you may or may not be familiar with the process to purchase land. So I'm just gonna walk through a little bit. Marilyn said, yeah, it took me 2 years to get my land. Yep. Yes. She said, yeah, if your caseworker isn't responding, CC everyone. And that's a lot of the Marilyn, that's a lot of the actual like work that I do, is just bug people like crazy. Like, hello, hey. We also do have a point person that is Martina Orange at the land bank, who is supposed to be like supporting getting a lot of these cases through. So yeah. Yep. Okay, so if you are going through the land process with us, bearing in mind, this is going to be a process. The quickest turnaround I've seen, the quickest turnaround are going to be on side lots or neighborhood lots. And I'll talk about that if you're not familiar with those two programs. Those things are things we can just jump online and purchase. I've seen that turn around maybe 3 to 4 months. Other than that, I have seen, most of these cases, 9 to 12 months process of just bugging the land bank, getting your paperwork in, and all of that. So this is a kind of a long-term situation. I don't want anybody to feel like you're about to put the application in and get it done tomorrow. So just kind of bear that in mind. Your first step is to go ahead and finalize the property that you want to purchase. You likely did that in your application with us. You likely went out and got that the address that you want to purchase. But if that has changed since you have submitted your application in June, things may have changed. Go ahead and get us the final address of what you want to purchase. Some things to think through. I always tell people, like, just thinking through, if you're brand new to like looking at a lot, what's currently happening on the lot. You don't want to displace anything that neighbors are currently doing. Check into how the land is zoned. Residentially zoned property will always be an easier process, even though the process won't be easy. It'll be easier than a commercially zoned property, because commercially zoned property, you will need to ultimately get a special land use hearing to do a garden on commercially zoned lots. And that's in addition to the purchase process. Then you'll have the permitting process, which is going to be a whole nother couple $1,000s, and just the process. Looking to see, do you have adequate sun? What's going to be your water source to that site? So all of those things, just in like picking a site that you want to think through. There's some listed there. We are requiring, we did not do this in the first year, and we learned a hard lesson. We had a person go through the whole process, purchase the land, and, like Erin said, we just kind of jumped out here with this program. We didn't realize it was going to be this big. In hindsight, we probably should have required it in year one, a soil test, but we did have someone who purchased land, and then they did a soil test later, and the entire property was contaminated. And so we don't want that. We don't want to spend your award dollar and then now you have something in your name that is contaminated. That's not what we want to do, right? So right now we're saying before we release funds for your property, we'd like you to come back with a soil test results that you understand. So there's a range of results that you can get in a soil test. And so we just want you to understand the soil test, be comfortable with the results. If it is on the bad end, what is your plan to either remediate the soil or raise the soil, raise your beds up? What is the plan? If it's good to go, that's great. But we want you to understand your soil that you're purchasing before we release funds. So you can do a soil test on your own. You can also request one through Keep Growing Detroit. Soil tests cover a 30 by 30 area. So a typical lot in Detroit is 30 by 100. There's some that are a little bit longer. So one soil test is going to cover about a third of one lot. So we just want you to test the area that you plan to grow on. So if you're thinking about like a average size lot, if you're going to grow in the front of the yard, the front of the lot, just test the first 1/3. If you're going to grow in the middle and you're going to have a stage in the front or something like that, then, really we want you to test the growing area. Does that make sense? Keep Growing Detroit does support with that. So I have a link on here how to request the soil test from Keep Growing Detroit. So we know many of you are doing multiple lots. And so we're purchasing up to 3 additional soil tests in addition to the one that you get free with Keep Growing Detroit. So you could get up to 4 soil tests for free, and then on any more that you need or would want, you would pay for it out of your award amount. Does that make sense? And I see a couple questions in the chat. Let me just take a pause. How much on average are the lots? Is there a different price for 501c3s? Okay, good question. On average, so it really depends on the neighborhood that you're in. Obviously, some neighborhoods are receiving more development pressure than others. So we know that, a lot in Corktown, a lot, in Jefferson Chalmers, is not going to be the same price as a lot on Dexter, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but if you're in a regular, like kind of average neighborhood, I'm seeing prices of around $800 to $1,000 a lot. And then there are some additional title fees that have been added on to the property, depending on, so there's an additional $250 that's added on, a title fee that just was added on last year. And if you need title insurance, or if there's an issue with the title, then it's an additional $1,000 on top of the purchase price, which it sucks and I'm fighting, but that's where things are right now. So there's a big range there. You also, if you apply as an agriculture program, you're going to get 20% off the asking price. So that's where we're getting about the $800 to $1,000 range. But if there's title issues or anything like that, that can add substantially to your cost. And then Anne wanted to know, is there a difference in price for 501c3s? Yes. So I was going to talk about some of the programs that they have, and one is the Creator Project program. I'm going to get to that in the next bullet, and a couple more questions here. Make sure we. Okay. Can you repeat the 20% off comment? And if I don't get to you in the chat because I'm talking and looking at the chat, like, feel free to come off of mute. We're small, we're informal right now, so just feel free to come off of mute if you're comfortable. But so yeah, I mentioned that if you apply and when you do the application, it's going to ask you about what you're applying for, and you say I'm applying for urban agriculture program. They're going to give you a 20% discount off of your purchase price because they're giving 20% off for farms. Okay, so does that make sense? Okay. All right, so I mentioned the soil testing, and this is why you have about a year to get your application in, because if you haven't finalized your property, you may want to look at it in the spring, and then in the spring you may want to make sure you have a soil test on file. So that's going to take a couple months to turn around. So you get to see how you can it can take a little bit of time to get that application in the door, but you do have to December 1st of 2023. So you got a year to get just to take the first step of applying for the land, right? And again, you got all these steps before that, but December 1st, by December 1st, we want you to at least apply to the land, to get the land. There's right now 4 or 5 different ways to purchase land through the land bank. So if this land is right close to you, like in walking distance, you are likely applying for the side lot program or the neighborhood lot program. The links to that are here. Those are the easiest purchase processes because you can literally purchase them online if you're within 500 feet and you meet certain eligibility. So you can go to these links and you can type your address into your personal home address. If you own the home, type your personal address into there, and then it'll show you a listing of all the available neighborhood lots around you. So neighborhood lots will be within 500 feet of your home, and then side lots will be directly adjacent. Okay, so those are the deepest discount, the easiest to do. But if you're not in that situation, we still have a couple of options. One is the, and this is, I meant to link this here, the Creator Project option. And you mentioned, like, if I'm a 501c3, if your 501c3 is anchored inside of a neighborhood where you want to purchase land, you can get a very deep discount through the Creator Project program. But that means that you'll be, the land needs to be in the name of the organization. So it couldn't be in Ann's name, it has to be in your, was it Three Queens, I think your organization is. So, sorry if I said the name wrong, but.
Oh no, you good.
Yeah. So does that make sense? So you would, if your organization is anchored in that neighborhood, you could apply through that Creative Project. That's going to give you a deep discount as well. Okay. If none of these, if you're not in that neighborhood and you're purchasing from outside of that neighborhood, or you're not within 500 feet, you can just go ahead and apply through the Detroit property application, which is linked here. When you do that, this is gonna be selling you property at market rate now. So you're no longer getting these deep discounts, and that's fine because you have some additional award money to work with, right? So no big deal. We're gonna go ahead and pay market rate. We're gonna fill out the Detroit property application. One thing to note, when you fill that out, they're gonna ask you to upload the plot plan. That's no problem because you already did that and you put that in the application to us, right? If you need to make any tweaks or anything to the plot plan, and you want to set an appointment, feel free. Like we can go through. They do want to see certain understandings of the current ordinances and things like that in your plot plan. So they may go back and forth with you about the plot plan a little bit. But if you need support with creating your plot plan, let me know. You'll also need a project budget, which you already have and you submit it to us. So boom, we're going to submit the project budget. Keep in mind that whatever you put in the project budget, they're going to ask for proof of funds for. So if your long-term goal is to do a $10,000 basketball court and a $15,000 community house, but you only have $500 in the bank, don't tell them about the basketball court. Like, you can cross that bridge when you get to it, because whatever you say you're gonna do, you need to have proof of funds in your bank account. So, if your bank account for this project reflects $500, then you need to stay under $500 for what you want to do. So I want to build 3 raised beds, and I want to cut the grass, and I want to buy some compost, and I can support you to make sure that your budget that you submit to them is within your actual budget that you need to submit your bank statement on. You can use your award letter from us as proof of funds in addition to your bank statement, or maybe the award covers the whole project amount. You can use your project, your award letter as a proof of funds to them. Okay, all right. Again, this process is going to take a long time. If you are purchasing in Highland Park or Hamtramck, the process is completely different. The Detroit Land Bank, obviously, it's not in ownership. There's multiple entities that own property in Highland Park or Hamtramck. And I am just touching the surface of how to infiltrate that. So we just got one awardee from last year. They just put their property application in after a year of trying to figure out their process. So I do have some information on how to do that. So I'm suggesting, if you don't know if you're in Highland Park or Hamtramck and you don't know the process, like, let's just have a one-on-one consultation about your next steps, because it's a little bit trickier. All right. I'm just going to pause for a second if there's any questions there about the ways to apply, the timeline that you'll need to apply.
So I have a quick question, and that's, sorry, just going back to the budget again. So say if we put in a very basic plot plan, and we're going to have 4 to 6 raised beds, but we have already purchased them, how will we introduce them to the budget? Will we put that they were already paid on the budget page? Okay.
Yep. And yeah, if I have that situation, just let them know they're already purchased and waiting for y'all. You know what I mean? So okay. You could include receipts for that if you have them, or just let them know they're already purchased. Also, if you're getting in-kind stuff, like if you're getting stuff from the church or something like that, or you're getting, you can let them know, like, I don't have to actually pay for this. This is going to be in-kind because, it's from a grant or something like that. Or I'm getting seeds and plants from Keep Growing Detroit. You know what I mean? You can let them know that on your budget.
Okay.
Good question.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So I'm at the point, I've already sent the deposit and everything to them, and I guess, quote unquote, closed. So what is the next step for that? I've sent you guys the soil test and all of that. So if I'm at this point, how do I get my land fund do I just call them and say, hey, I want to pay on, like, how does that work?
Yep, you're going to initiate the payment by letting us know that you've gotten your purchase agreement. And they usually, with the purchase agreement, they'll send what's called a remittance form, which lists out the address that you're going to buy, and it lists the amount. For my paperwork, I'm using that as my, what I'm paying off of. So I need that remittance form from them.
Okay, so I just need to send that over to you. Okay, because I have everything. I just didn't know what I needed to send additionally for you guys to know because I paid, whatever they wanted me to pay as far as the deposit. Okay, so
Okay.
it's a remittance form. I have to look back through the paperwork, but is that what it's called on the paperwork, or?
Yes, it is. And
Okay.
if I can show you an example. You want to give me 2 seconds, like of
Yeah.
a different one.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna rifle through my files here, y'all. So just give me 2 seconds. I'm screen sharing, but let's see. Yep. And if regarding the deposit, if you already made the deposit and you want your award dollars to reimburse you for that, just send a receipt of your deposit. Does that make sense?
No, just add the rest to the to
Okay.
the thing. Yeah.
Yep. Either which way. Just let me show you this real quickly what it looks like. So, okay. So here's all of, let's see what it looks like. Yeah, remittance. So this is an awardee from last year. This is what it looks like right here. You probably already have it. So
Okay.
once you send this to me and you say, T, I'm ready to pay, and you tell me, we'll wire it directly to them before your closing.
So do I need to let them know?
Yes, you can let them know you're an awardee and they're very familiar with us. Let them know that it'll be wired over, and then they should schedule your closing after that.
Okay, because they've well, I want to say technically I've already closed. Does that make sense?
You signed your purchase agreement
Yes.
and then you closed.
Yes. Well, in the email, we'll talk on the back end. I don't want to take up too much time, but I'll look back through the email. But I know
Okay.
the last thing I did was pay my wire, sign the paperwork, all of that. So, but I still have a, balance on, so that's, with the land. So I'm like, well, if I can pay that off, what would be the process for that?
Right. Okay. Well, we can talk offline about where you're at, but yeah, we'll be submitting the money right directly to them, and we just need that remittance form.
Okay, perfect. So I'll
off
send that to the regular email, right?
Yep, that works.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
No problem. And they'll forward it to the right person for your case. So this is the exact process that Crystal was just talking about. So after you put an application in, it's going to take some time. They're going to approve it internally. Hopefully they're going to, look at all the internal Detroit departments. Does anybody else want this land? All of that, they're going to approve it internally. And then they're going to send you a purchase agreement that you can sign electronically. And they're going to ask you for a deposit, and they'll give you that remittance form that says this is for deposit. And usually deposit is $500 a lot or somewhere in there. And so we can pay the deposit directly. So you can just say, T, I'm ready to pay my deposit. Here's my remittance form. We'll wire it over there. If you pay it yourself, like Crystal did, and you want a reimbursement, or maybe it's more than your award, and you're paying the deposit, we're paying the final payment, just let us know what you want to do after you get your purchase agreement. One thing here that I want you to know is we do have a lawyer on retainer from Great Lakes Environmental, and also we have Aaron, who's a lawyer. You can set up a consultation with us if you want support looking at your purchase agreement. It is a long legal document, and if you want just somebody to read the legal mumbo jumbo with you, definitely take advantage of that, because we've already paid lawyers to do that, okay, for you. So you get a consultation with a lawyer. Just let me know, I'll connect you guys. Yep. So after you sign the purchase agreement, they're gonna they're gonna get your deposit. You sign the purchase agreement. Then you have one more step. They're going to take the purchase agreement to their board. Their board only meets once a month. So that process can take some time if you miss the window or something like that. So they're going to take the your purchase agreement and the deposit, and they're going to take it to the board. So every piece of property in Detroit that is purchased needs to be approved by the board. I've never seen it go to the board and not be approved. So, knock on wood, that still just goes through, but it does take an additional step. After it goes through the board and the board approves it, they come back to you, they email you and they say, it's time to schedule your closing and we need your final payment. They'll give you that piece of paper that I just showed you over here, which looks like this, the final remittance form. It tells you how much more you have to pay. It tells you like this deed recording fee that now that they've added this $250 title search fee on every one, which is irritating. So they'll give you that. You'll send it to us. We'll wire over the money and you'll schedule closing with us. We don't need to be there. They usually do it virtually and you sign the paper, or you can go in the office and actually sign the paper with them. And then from there, sooner or later after that, you'll get a deed. You want to make sure that you record your deed. In years past, they have been recording it for you. And then I just learned that they're going to stop recording it for you and you'll need to record it. There is a penalty if you do not record your deed within 90 days after you get the property that accumulates over time and then is added to your tax bill. So I want to be very clear that to make sure with them, did you record this? If they record it, they should be able to send you a property transfer affidavit that lets you know that that it has been transferred into your name. Okay. Sorry. All right, so make sure your deed is recorded. And then you're gonna begin your compliance period. So most property is sold with a compliance period that is outlined in your purchase agreement. It's gonna say every 3 months you need to submit a report on the progress of your garden. So March I put my beds in and here's a picture. You just email that to them. In June I filled them up with compost. Whatever it is, you're just going to send them they're on their timeline. You're going to send them their updated reports to be in compliance. And then you're going to they've also baked in your compliance is that you have to get a garden permit. So that's once you get through the deed process there, and they've tacked on a whole nother process of making sure you get a change of use garden permit. So we will cross that bridge when we get there, but just to give you, if you have multiple lots, just to give you kind of an outline of the steps for that. If you have multiple lots, you'll want to combine your lots first into one address that goes to the tax assessor's office, and I can help you through all of that paperwork. And then you'll change the use by filling out a building permit with BSeed. So you don't have to remember all that, but what you do have to remember is that it's a process and we're here for you through the process. And this is why we developed the Black Farmer Land Fund, because this is a process that was easier accessed by folks who have, time and money and lawyers and all of that stuff. And we wanted to make sure that everybody, had the support they need to get through this process. So at any time you can email me directly. Here's my email, tafira@gmail.com. You can set up a Calendly with me. Say, hey, I need to do my change of use permit. I need to make an appointment with T. Just make an appointment with me. My calendar is right there. You can email the Land Fund email with questions. And so that is a kind of a long story of the of the process. I wonder if I'm gonna stop share, and I wonder if there's any questions on that process, and if not, is Brenda still on the call or did she jump off? There she goes. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Hey. So, feel free to ask questions as we're going. Brenda went through the process 2 years ago now. To date, we have put through 25 people through a process. So, woo. But so I'm hoping that you guys will be, right through the process as well. But I wanted to share with you some of the stories so that you will understand just like what this process looks like, and you'll be not feeling feeling like you have support and knowing that it's not personal. Everybody goes through this process. So Brenda, do you want to share a little bit about your story and how long it took you and some of the hurdles that you had, and if you can share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so peace everyone, first of all. Thanks for taking some time out. Let me get this out. But I already had land in mind. So I already had started my garden. So the lots that I was getting was for expansion because I had kind of run out of space. And so I already had the lots identified. Everything was fine. So I just started going through the process. I was a 2020 awardee for land. I filled out my application. I still did not get any real traction. I didn't get a purchase agreement until 2021. I did not get to close to maybe fall of 2021. And I'm just now getting to the end of that rope where I actually have a release deed, which is a process I really truly didn't understand. So in 2021, when I went to my closing, the deed that you get still kind of has a land bank lien on it, right? So on the back of your purchase agreement, there's, as he was speaking of, there's a lot of things that you need to adhere to. So it kind of says you'll report every 90 days. Within 180 days, you'll apply for a change of use permit. You'll turn that permit in. But you still have to keep doing your 90-day updates while you're doing all the other stuff. And I think it's like 300 and something days that they give you to complete all of that. So I was still going through that process because you really can't get it. You don't really get a release deed until then. So at the end of that, when you're complete with that, and the inspectors have to come out. So you apply for a change of use. He walked me through that. You have to get a blight clearance. Once you get the blight clearance and you get the permit, you have so long to then have to schedule the inspectors to come out. So the inspectors actually do physically come out, and I will just let you know, they come out with a copy.
Uh-oh, you went on mute, Brenda. Brenda, can you hear me?
Plan in hand.
Oh, there you go.
And so they were kind of looking around to make sure that I did what I said I was going to do, and I didn't do anything that I wasn't going to do. So once that happens, there's a period where they go back and they put that in the system. So it's still a little bit of a wait. And then you have to call down and you have to go through another process of getting a certificate, a compliance certificate. That took maybe a couple of more weeks. And then once I received that certificate, I was able to send that to the land bank, and then they were able to send me a release. It says that they released themselves from holding the deed that I had. So all in all, like I said, it's a whole 2-year process from start to finish. And I still actually have a couple of lots that I've been trying to buy that I have a purchase agreement for that I started on before these lots, and I still haven't gone to closing on those lots. So it just kind of depends on where the lots are, how they're zoned, if they want to release them or not, how many times they have to go back and forth to council before they decide what they'll release them to you for and how much they're going to sell them for. And then we had our district manager he left. So kind of whatever he was working on in that process was sitting there for a while. So it's just now picking back up. So I don't even know when I'll go to close on those lots.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Your story is great because you've just finally made it through the whole process, and we were working really hard on that, and you were working hard on that, and I was bugging people and you were bugging people. Yes. And so I just wanted to share with people like it's a process. Don't feel discouraged, and just know that you have support with folks in the community, with these organizations that are doing this. But we want to see Black land ownership in the city, as we know we are experiencing gentrification in our city already. We want to make sure that folks who are from this city, who are living in the city, who have made it through the hard times of this city, are also, prepared to experience the benefits once our city, sees its full resurgence, right? So,
and please keep up with your updates. Like they're not gonna remind you. They said they would. They're like, oh, we'll remind you. I have not gotten one reminder update. So if you didn't do your 90-day update, I mean, it's at their discretion if they want to honor that contract. Because kind of the small print says, if you don't do this, we can keep it because they do have a lien on it still. So,
that's
your 90
a
days,
really important point that I don't think I said.
Yeah, and your 90 days start at the time when you sit down and sign that paperwork. Your 90 days starts then. It's not 90 days after. No, when you sign it, your 90 days begin.
Yeah, that compliance period means that they can take the property if you do not go through the compliance in the right way. So I do have about 3 people who got their deeds from us and they weren't keeping up with their updates, and now they're in default, and we have to go through that. And we're working through it, but I just, like Brenda said, stay on your updates. Is Tiffany on the call still? I see one number that I don't recognize, because she also has gone through the whole process and can attest to, and I talked to her, I was like, can you just share what you what you went through? Because it's lightweight abusive, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Put it in your calendar. That's how I started doing it, because I was like, I think the first update might have been 30 days, and then it's like 90 days. It's like, but you gotta, I don't know if everybody's purchase agreement is the same, but just make sure you go through it. You do a date calculator, like what's 90 days from today and what's 90 days from that date, and put it on your phone. Set it on your computer, wherever, because they are really serious, and they may not even tell you that they got the update for 30 days. I'll send an email, and then in 30 days, somebody will say, okay, we got your update. It's almost time for the next update. So you really never know. So you got to do it, and you got to make sure you save those emails. Like, those are your receipts. And like, also, I had an instance where the land that I haven't gone to close on yet, because the person who was handling it left, they sent me an email and said, hey, you never put a deposit on this. And so we're not holding this land for you. And I'm like, I did put a deposit. It was a wire transfer, and they had no record. So if I hadn't had the record of the wire transfer saved to send back to them for them to track it, I wouldn't have had any evidence that I ever put a deposit down on that lot, from 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot. Are there any, is Tiffany on the line? Maybe she jumped off with the infrastructure, but is there any questions at this point? Okay, any questions on how to access, everybody know how to access the infrastructure? Can somebody come off of mute and tell me, how do I access my infrastructure award? Tell me. They said I got $700. How do I get my $700? Anybody tell me? Any brave soul? Okay. To get your, was Ann, you about to come off of mute? I saw your hand move. Oh, Gabby. Okay, Gabby came off of mute. Do you know how?
Yeah. To access my infrastructural award, I have to either have ownership of the property that I'm trying to do infrastructure on, or site control, being in agreement with the owner, or some sort of form that I'm able to do this thing and it can be permanent on the site. I have to maybe have a quote, estimate from somebody that's going to do it. I can pay for it, send you receipts and get reimbursed, communicate with you about what project that I'm doing, how much money I'm going to add to that, how much money from the award I'm using for it, and then you guys are going to make it happen.
Yep. Yep. And how, and Ann, you want to add on to that? I see you on. Thank you, Gabby.
Yes, make sure you modify your budget.
Yes.
After that, that's one of the most important parts that I actually heard y'all say about that, was to make sure that you modify your budget to fit what you're saying is being done there, so that when they come with your updates, they say, hey, you said you were going to do this and you don't have it done. So that's the most important thing, is to modify your budget after that before you submit it over for finalization on it.
Yep. Awesome. Yep. So whenever you're ready, you should be reviewing, you should be making your final selections for infrastructure. What are you going to actually buy for the money that you were awarded? Submit that final modified budget to me. If you need support with that, let us know. And then Angela dropped it in chat. It needs to be spent by next year at this time, 12/1/2023. So keep those dates in mind as you're going through the season. You might discover things you have, oh, I had $200 left on my award. Let me get this, so, but it needs to be spent by December 1st, 2023. Thank you so much. And then for land, if you have a land award, your next steps are to make sure you know the property you're going to buy, and let's see if we apply for any of these discounts. If not, we're going to put our property, we're going to get a soil test on the property, and we're going to put our property application in, which can happen at the same time. So you can get a soil test. That soil test is going to take a couple months, and we're headed into the winter and the frozen ground. We're not going to be able to do soil tests for probably till February or March. But we need a soil test on file before you actually get the funds released. But you can start the application process, but just know that you might, if the soil test results come back bad, you might have to switch gears on the property. So, okay, well, I'm not gonna, yep.
Is that $250 that you were talking about? Is that for, I think you said it was a title fee. Is that for each parcel?
Girl. Yes.
And I didn't have that last time, so I don't know about that. That's new. So
they just added it. And I'm really upset about it because that's a substantial amount of money. And that's just the title search. If they come back and they find that there's an issue with title, meaning they can't find the chain of custody, that you need to go ahead and quiet title, they call it. That's going to be $1,000 per lot.
$1,000, right? Okay. Now, with that, is that you can't actually combine the addresses till you purchase the lots, correct? Until after you have the deed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So that's why. Okay.
That's that. I haven't seen anybody have to pay the $1,000 yet. And knock on wood, we don't. But point being, that's a substantial amount of. The lot itself could cost $1,000. So basically, they just doubled the price of the lots in a year. They just did that. So, me and Brenda talk about this a lot of times. Like I think that it's only going to get harder for us to purchase land in the city. I've been to Philly. There's no other city that have prices this cheap right now. And Philly, which is like, a sister city to us in terms of some of the things that they've been through economically, their cheapest lot was like $10,000. Just so for one lot, just one lot, you know what I mean? So, we're headed in that trajectory. If you go to Ohio, Dayton, or something like that, some other kind of city that's, experiencing the same situation in their neighborhoods, those prices are on the increase. And you just see right now, they just added something in there that just doubled the cost of land for no reason. Really no reason. And so right now I'm inquiring on if we can get an outside title search company who maybe could do some pro bono work for us, but they may require that it goes through their companies. So
I have another question. So they own it, right? The land bank. So they didn't search to see how did they get it if they don't know who owned it? I know that's like around the subject, but still it seems like they would know the chain of custody. They acquired it. So why would they make us pay? And they already own it, and they should have kind of like already hashed that out.
Same thing I said. That's the same thing I said. Because typically a land bank, the purpose of a land bank is to go ahead and clear all of that, so that it's fresh to own, right? To clear tax bills, to clear, title issues, to clear water. I've seen old water bills on property from the house that was there. You know what I mean? They're supposed to be clearing that out so that we can have a clear access to owning it. So some of the challenges, and this is why we're in this pivotal time. And I just think this work is so important. So I appreciate you guys like going through this process and getting this property, in our hands. You see what I'm saying? So there was a couple things in the chat here. I want to make sure I'm not missing. Okay, Kimmit, yes, we'll be sending the recording and linking with Angela. That's great. Yeah, Highland Park is a whole different process. So I can share with you what I know about Highland Park for those in that situation. Okay, well, this Saturday, I'm not trying to hold you too long, but I wanted to have at least a point where you could come ask all the questions, the process. Hopefully you're leaving here knowing the process, knowing what your next steps are, and knowing how long you have to do those next steps. And most importantly, knowing how to connect with us if you have questions, because we'll be in this for a while, fam.
Most definitely. T, you
ahead,
said
Ann.
y'all are closed the last 2 weeks of the month. Is that
Yep.
of the year? Last
Yep.
2 weeks?
Yep. So yeah, I take that vacation time seriously.
I understand. But I'm gonna grow up and get that vacation time too.
That's why I like yeah, just so you know, I will be
Okay.
out of here.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll be back in the first of the year, and we can get going on some of these infrastructure things.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Miss Brenda, it's good to see you. Bye, everybody.
It's good to
Bye,
see you too,
Ann.
Miss Ann. You can give me that shirt. We'll send it to me.
Look, I need to get in touch with you. I'm gonna put my number in the chat. Call me.
Okay, let me see how to Snapchat the chat. Okay, let me see if I can
Bye,
take a picture.
everybody.
I'm gonna stay on the line. If folks have questions or wanted to sidebar about some of their personal situations, I'll stay on for a second. And it was good to see you all and talk with you really quickly.
Yeah, I had a question.
It's D. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Okay,
Carla,
D,
and
go
then
first.
Go ahead.
I had a question when are you going on vacation? Because I kind of needed to huddle with you regarding the first aid thing we talked about.
Oh yeah, that is we need to do that. The 16th is my last day, but that right there is kind of also like some community work that I'm trying to do too. So definitely.
Because all the paperwork is done. I just need to, I was approached about it being a part of someone else helping grant-wise to get some of the equipment. So I told her that I had actually talked with you first.
Uh-huh.
So I need to huddle with you so I can find out what's available and what may be available and so forth.
Yes, I'm gonna have a note here to call you, so I'm gonna try to call you next week. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna make an appointment with you on Candlelily. Miss Brenda, I put my number in the chats. Also, y'all, I was accepted into the Organic Farmers Training Program with MSU.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. Yes.
And I put my
Congrats.
number in the chat for you too, Miss Ann.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
So
Okay.
Miss Ann, I'll see you on the farm.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Really
T,
good.
I have a sidebar about the change of use. I didn't want to take up anybody's time.
Okay, really quickly, Mama D, did you have a question?
I can wait really quick. Go ahead, Mama Brenda.
Oh no. I mean, my change of use is done. So it's kind of like going back in time just to talk about something that happened when I was going through the change of use. It may not have anything to do with anybody else. So I don't want to take up y'all time.
Okay, so I just have a quick question. So long story short, we found out that we have a canal back there that we want to know if we can access that the city covered up. So I want to talk to you about that.
Yes.
Ooh.
But I want
the elders. the elder told us there used to be a canal back there, and then she told us that I believe she said in the 60s or something like that, the city covered it up. So we wanted to discuss that with you and try and, figure out if we can get access or, it's nothing's there right now. DTE owns the land, nothing's there. So I just want to,
And how to find out the information. Like, we haven't been able to find out any information about that canal in the city, but she said she's been there all her life and it was there and they covered it up in the 60s. And I want to do a natural water source. And so does Dee. So we want to do natural water features and kind of introduce that back into our farms.
Where's the canal going to? Do you know?
And that's what we're trying to figure out.
She said that it ran behind Danbury. What was that, Charleston?
No, it's not. Well, yeah, it is. So, T, you remember when we used to be at Hunt Playground for Liberated Farm? You remember in the back, we always had that marshland, and we never really knew why the water just kind of pooled back there. That was where the canal was. That was like the end of it.
Yep, and she said it ran across 8 Mile.
We have a tributary behind. I call it a tributary because it does cross 8 Mile because I'm in the 7 and Telegraph. So but all of it leads to Rouge. Leads to Rouge River, because if we were to get in the kayak or canoe and launch from back here, we could actually ride the tributary if it's deep enough into the Rouge River and go all the way around by Belle Isle.
Yeah.
So on that 8 Mile end, you'll see there are some bridges. Even as you drive into the neighborhoods across 8, you'll see where there's the water, slight trickle that is running behind those properties. And in some spots, it has been covered up. But like right behind the old Taft Middle School here on Berg Road, if you walk down behind there, it's free flowing. And it continues from past 7 Mile and past 8 Mile. So it may be a tributary that they've just covered up in that particular area.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting. I would, my first thought would be somebody from the planning department, which I don't know if you met Sarah Elboy. She was our last contact at the land bank, and she's awesome because she used to work at a farm, and she's like really like an advocate at the city. Okay. I would reach out to her and see what so I can connect you guys and see what actually, if you don't know the land-based projects, which Sarah's on there from the planning department now. She moved from the land bank to the planning department. BSeed is on that call. The water department is on that call, and the tax assessor's office and then land bank are all on this call every other Thursday. It's called land-based projects. So like stuff like that, like those are the key people that, to ask, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Like, that's what I would do. I would go to my contacts and ask, and they've set up these virtual open houses every other Thursday.
Okay.
I can drop the link. Yeah, I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there she can tell you like what would be the process and all of that.
Thank you.
Find that link. Yep. Let me just find that link, y'all. But if there's any other questions, I'll be the next one is the 15th. Then let me get that link.
No.
Okay. You know what? And what I'll do too is I'll try to remember to put this link in the email that I send out after this.
Hey T, it's Audrey. How are you?
Hey lady, how are you?
I'm doing good. The last contact I had with the land bank, it said that all the lots were cleared for title. All the titles came back, don't need the $1,000.
Thank gosh.
Right. But Amanda Watts and Martina Orange have not responded to any emails, or voicemails. But the young lady stated to me that their problem right now is they're having a hard time finding people to do the closing for them. So I'm not sure if they're outsourcing who's closing for the land bank, but she said they don't have anybody to do the closings, which seemed awkward.
Yeah, because Amanda used to do that, so she must have got promoted then.
Yeah, so I think that's what's part of our problem. But I do my twice a week contact with them through email or either through phone. Just keeping up that way. And that's how the young lady did tell me that, ma'am, we're not going to forget about you, but this is where we're at. We don't have people to do the closings. So that's a point of concern. Yeah, that's a point of concern for me. Because you just asked for $250 more for lots to do titles on them. But you don't have anybody.
It's been so long. It's been like almost a year.
Yeah, it's been a little. Yeah, it's been a little over a year. Yeah. Yeah. So, but just putting that in our pipe and smoking it, that they are not having the resources that they need right now.
Yeah.
To get the job done either.
That would make sense because there's a couple people waiting on close, and I'm like, what is the?
Yeah, she said they don't have people to do the closing. They're just kind of finding somebody to do the closing. She said they're having a really hard time. And I said, but aren't you staffed with someone that's in that department? That department is not staffed at this time. She said, I can't say that, but we don't have closers. So
that is, thank you for putting that in the pot.
I've emailed Amanda about 1,000 times and I've never gotten a response back from Amanda. So I don't know if nobody has said anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. They're not letting us know when the departments change or who's going to be facilitating at that point. So like Brenda said, you have to be on it yourself weekly. It's not, you can't take 2 weeks off or anything like that. Weekly, you have to make point of contact and see who's the current person over these projects. And most of the time she's saying, I don't know.
And right now,
this person.
Yeah, doesn't even have a person. I'm sorry, Audrey, I thought you were gonna stop. District 1 doesn't have a person though.
No.
So are they just missing the notary, to do the signings, to be at the signings, or is it like a person that is signing the paperwork that they're missing?
I think she did not go into detail of what component of it was missing, but I think if more of us called and asked the same exact question, what's going on with your closers? Who do you have in place to do the closing at this time? Is there a point person that I can speak with? And she said she can't give me a point person because there isn't one.
Because I was gonna say, because if it was a notary, if it was a mortgage, then we'd have to have a mortgage notary. But considering that, that it's just a regular general notary, hell, call me, I'll meet you. You know what I'm saying? That don't make no sense because y'all got all these people in here, so it don't make no sense.
But
I know they're perpetually understaffed. They always say that they're understaffed, but.
And she said, ma'am, there's nothing you can do. I said, so there's no way I could hire someone to do my closing for me. And she's like, no, that's on us. But we don't have any.
So they don't have any representatives to do the closings is what they're saying.
That's what she said. We're having a hard time finding anybody to do the closing.
Because technically a title company and a notary can close.
That's what I was going to say.
But they don't have a representative to go there and do the closing. They want to have a representative there to talk for them.
No, the people who do the closing and do the notary are employed by the land bank, and that's what
I'm saying.
They're land bank employees, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So they don't have anybody in that position anymore.
Yeah,
they don't want you to bring your outside. They're not going to let you bring your outside closing title company or closing people into their process. So that means they got to find somebody in the land bank who can do it, or train them and get them trained and get them going.
But here's one more thing. Moving forward, I think we need to pay attention to this because there might be something going on that's going to dissolve what's going on. You know what I mean? If there's a problem or something really that they shouldn't have been doing that they're doing, I don't want to get caught in the middle of that. I need to get my paperwork pushed through before any of this dissolves. You know what
Well,
I mean?
I do know my friend Chris Walker actually just did a news report on CW50 about this not too long ago. Urban agriculture, obtaining the lands and things like that. Maybe if we can get her, get a meeting with KGD and the Detroit Black Farmers Land Fund, people who are actually over the urban farming here in Detroit, have a meeting with her, we can get a solid report out and find out why we can't get the land bank closed, put a little pressure on them so that they will put somebody in those positions, you know.
Right,
And
'cause
don't forget to include your mayor, because at the news conference, the press conference that we did for this neighborhood beautification grant, we was all there. That was one of the things he touted about, was the fact that it was so easy for this land acquisition, and to do positive things and make positive moves. So don't forget to CC himself on that.
I
right,
think they
because
gonna learn. They learning something through that program. Like they trying to send people through the process, and they're like, oh,
No, neighborhood beautification, the city should have never stepped into that arena.
mhm.
For real. Because when I say it's bass backwards, we just did an orientation. You sent us an award letter after the news conference was announced, because you wanted us to show up. We went to a news conference where you waved your hand and said, these 34 people, and we just stood there looking like little icons. Then y'all did a program orientation. This was last week. Y'all done already dispersed the money. What were we orientating on?
Oh wow!
I say it was bass backwards, but they only did the press conference after strategic community partners with that TNF grant, because I'm an awardee for that one too. They had a whole, press bang downtown. Then we did the cohort, over here on 6 Mile at the strategic community office, and they got the 6 different cohorts that you participate in, blase split. Now, there's some issues with that situation, because you say you want us to have the money and we're just as important as anyone else, being Black-led organizations, yet you want me to come and take all this training and hold my hand because you ain't giving me no money till March of next year, but it's for 2023 programming. Well, what you're teaching me in essence is how to be out of order, because if I'm being in order in my organization, this is the time that I would be signing contracts and getting letters of understanding in and paying deposits on things that I need for next summer and my programming. But instead, I won't get the first of that money until next spring, when my programming should be planned, orderly, and about ready to kick off.
Let me add something to what you said. Historically, that's the way that Black farmers were put off, because most Black farmers weren't able to sign contracts or buy any type of seed or anything until after the season for seeding had passed, or after the time that finances were available and loans were available, were they allowed to apply. So this is not a new game, it's the same game, So I just want us to be wise, non-emotional, attached to this, because our own traumas from this is what it's been.
Yeah.
To make sure that we can push forward and stay focused at this point, that we can accomplish what we're setting out to accomplish, collectively actually accomplish what we're going to accomplish, because they want us to just stop, not keep going with it, keep asking questions, and not talk to each other to share stories and information. So, with the land bank, I don't know if it's going to be, dismantled, but before it does that, I need to get everything from my people out of their lap, because it's breaking down more and more each time. And that crucial part with nobody there to want to sign off on that, that's kind of like, you don't want to put your name on it. You don't want to be connected. So, I just want us to push forward really as much as we can to get everything that you want out of this before they have their own, implosion or whatever.
Yeah, because
And
even when you say the price went up, if our
Yes.
applications went in, let's say September 1st,
Yes.
and when it went in, the price of land would have been $250. That's what y'all said these plots was worth. Some of them might be $500, whatever. This thing been overgrown and ugly for 99 years. We could prove. So we wanted to